How's everybody doing? Good. You're all still hopped up on coffee and sugar. We haven't crashed yet. Okay. If you feel like you're crashing at any point, you can feel free to stand up, shake a little bit, walk around, do whatever you need to. It's a safe space. Okay. All right. So, as promised, we're going to talk about balance today. Who has balance in their lives right now? Okay, we got a couple people who wants more balance in their life. Me too. All right, so you're in for a wild ride. You are not going to be the same woman when you leave this room today as when you came in. So if that sounds really scary, you don't want that, please leave now. No judgment. Silently, but not out loud. All right, so we're going to talk about exploration, about play. I'm going to ask you to stretch your minds a little bit today. And I do have an activity because I was inspired by Christina last year. She had a cool activity and I was like, I'm just talking. So I wanted to incorporate something that you can take home and have an actionable plan on how you can create more balance in your life starting today. And the minute you leave the room, you might be on your phone like, okay, we're doing this. That's what I want to inspire in you today. And I know that you're all capable of creating more balance in your life. So that being said, if you don't know me, I'm Liz Rook. I'm a life coach. I run Thrive Arena Life Coaching. My maiden name is Arena, which everyone finds is a fun fact. My husband actually thought of the business name because I love to help women, especially, thrive, feel empowered, decrease overwhelm, decrease stress, decrease struggle. And we lose our energy and our balance and our time to stress, struggle, overwhelm, and that's what we're going to talk about today. My voice is a little shaky because I get nervous, even though I'm excited up here. So I like to dance it out. So I think we'll dance at the end. No, my DJ over there is just waiting for the signal. Because you know I danced last year, so we're going to dance this year, I promise. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to have you just raise your hand and think about this for a second. How many hats do you wear as a woman? I stopped counting around 9 because I was getting kind of depressed when I was writing this down. So by hats, I mean you're, a female, right? You're a woman in the society. You probably have a job, so you have a role there. You may wear more than one hat at work. You probably wear more than one hat at home if you're a wife, if you're a mom, if you're a sister, if you're a daughter. You could extend to cousin and friend and all that. So we all tend to wear a lot of hats. So how many people wear at least one hat? Yeah. How about 2 hats? Okay. How about 3 hats? 4 hats? 5 hats? 6 hats? 7 hats? 8 hats? 9 hats? 10 plus hats? That's a lot of hats, y'all. And we're gonna wobble sometimes because we're human. So one of the biggest things I see that creates an imbalance is when we wobble and our hat slips a little bit, whichever one we're wearing at the time. And then we beat ourselves up about it because balance is a lie. It's an illusion. It's an idea or concept that we have in our heads. It's a social construct. And when we're striving for a perfectionistic fantasy of a perfectly balanced life, we're gonna fail, but only every time. I talked about this ad nauseum in different flavors with all of my clients, with all of my patients. So I know that it is likely showing up somewhere in your life where you're thinking, I'm not good enough. I'm not doing enough. I should be doing this. I shouldn't be doing this. If any of that sounds familiar, it has a little ring to it. Me too. Okay. We all are brought up in a culture that wants women to do all the things and be all the things, but not talk about all the things, not admit to all the things, not be stressed by any of the things. We're supposed to look pretty. We're supposed to be nice. We're supposed to be kind. We're supposed to be all these things. And that is where we lose concept of what balance is and what it can be in our lives. So I'd like to suggest balance as an idea that we create first in our minds, and then we get to define it and decide what it looks like for us. Not for your sister, not for your neighbor, not for your coworker, not for your best friend. Everyone's balance is going to look different, and you get to decide what that looks like. And it's going to be fluid along the way. So your balance one day may not look like your balance the next day. Y'all with me? Does that make sense? We strike in some chords. I see some real serious faces all of a sudden. It's not meant to be a downer. This is a good thing. That means you have the power within you to define and create the balance in your life. We're going to talk about that today, and you're going to be able to create it before you leave this room. Yay. Okay. Firework paint. Move around. All right. So, how many hours do we have in our day? Not enough. That's a very common thing. I actually wrote that down later on the top. Thank you. We all have the same 24 hours. So why does it seem like some people can get a lot more done than other people? It's not because they're better. It's not because they're fancier. Sometimes everyone's different. Everyone starts from a different place. So some people have more knowledge. They may have more resources. They may have more support. But that doesn't mean if you don't, that you can't create it for yourself and get to where you want to be. We often think that, and that holds us back because we think, well, they have it easier over there. Ask me how I know, because my brain does the exact same thing all the time. Social media is a big kind of microscope of this. When I go on social media, I see other people in my field and I think they have it easier, they have more support, they've got more resources. That's what my brain says, always. And I have coaches and mentors who say, yeah, I'm making, tons of money, and my brain still goes there. So just know your brain's gonna go there. Brains are gonna do what brains do, right? What we do is we learn to notice it, say, hey, thanks, brain, we appreciate that, right? Because our brain's function is to protect us from danger and death, right? But our default setting, it just runs all the time. And how we grow up, how we utilize our time, how we utilize our energy, how we react to situations, what triggers us, what doesn't, starts from the time we're small children. And I don't know about you, but my parents were not what you would consider emotionally mature. They were not responsible for their emotions and letting me just be a kid. I grew up in a divorced household. There was a lot of conflict. There was a lot of strife. I've kind of had to dig my way out of that. That's the great part about being an adult. And as an aside, when I was a kid, I thought when you grow up, everyone becomes an adult, and then magically, like you get the keys to the universe, and everyone becomes mature, and they own their stuff, and they're calm. No, I'm still waiting for that. But the good news is we get to create that for ourselves. So even if there is chaos swirling around you, you get to take back your power, your agency, and your authority, and that's where we start creating balance. So the 24 hours you have in the day are yours. And we're going to show you how to start taking those back today, and then you can build on that. And this is something I work with my clients on. So most of us learn our mindset, our response, our default thought patterns, our beliefs, right? In childhood. Your coping skills are set by the age of 6 or 7. And if you don't intentionally recognize them, choose to change them, work on them, they just kind of keep perpetuating. And at some point, you'll probably hit a wall where they're not working anymore. And then you shift, and then you grow, and then you change. I want to offer that growth is always available to you. We just sometimes our brains trying to protect us are like, no, we're not going there. Because it's scary, it's new, it's uncertain. Right? Last year, we talked about making decisions, which are choices, and supporting yourself with love. Similar theme, different topic. Okay. So what is balance? We talked about it. It's more of a perfectionistic fantasy that's designed to keep us in our small box. What would happen, y'all, if women took over the world? It'd be amazing. And it's happening right now, and you're part of it. So thank you for being here. All right, I want everyone to stand up for a second. Y'all are looking like the sugar's wearing off. I want to keep this energy high. All right, I want you to high five your neighbor if you feel comfortable. Fist bump, air five. Everybody put your hands up. Say balance is mine to create.
Balance is mine to create.
All right, now do the hokey pokey and turn yourself around. All right, you can sit down now. just gonna make sure it's real. If your neighbor falls asleep, as long as you're not drilling on you, just let them be, they need the rest. Okay, part of the balance equation. All right, so how we take our power back is we start creating it intentionally with our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions or behaviors and habits. A lot of us have default habits that come from default emotions and default thoughts, right? So I'm going to do some definitions for you. They are recording the talks this year, so don't worry about writing it all down. I'm assuming it'll be available later. So you can just kind of take it in and then think about how it applies to your life. So thoughts, right? We have about 60,000 plus thoughts a day. Most of them are not conscious to us, like, hey, pick your foot up, move around, say this word, all the stuff that we kind of learn that's automatic. I equate our thoughts and creating them intentionally to learning how to drive. When I was 15, I was scared to get behind the wheel, and it took a lot of concentration and effort for me to go over about 15 miles an hour. I saw the same thing when our daughter was learning how to drive. She was going through the parking lot, going about 5 in the school parking lot. She's like, we're going too fast, because her brain was overwhelmed because it was something new, right? So most of our thoughts are unintentional, and that's a good thing because we don't have to spend any energy on thinking, moving, eating, doing all our daily activities. However, we have a lot of subconscious or unconscious thoughts in the background that are also driving us in a certain direction. Those are the ones that become problematic when we're not aware of them. And your thoughts are simply sentences in your brain that you're used to thinking. Beliefs are thoughts that you believe to be true. However, our thoughts are just sentences. They're words strung together, but we tend to accept them as facts. If we never question them, we never explore whether they actually are true, whether they're helpful, whether they're helping us or holding us back. This is where we can start to create awareness and notice our thoughts, not all of them, obviously, because then we'll be overwhelmed all the time, and that is not balance. But we start noticing what's coming up for us in certain situations. And I'm a very logical, rational person, so this type of thought work really appealed to me when I started doing my own personal growth. And I was like, feelings, ugh, who wants those, right? Feelings are not cool. I'm a tough one. I don't talk about feelings. I was top boy growing up, if you were wondering. So your thoughts are sentences in your brain. We think they are true because they're in our brain and our brains like to be right. So we will look for evidence in the world of where those thoughts are true. Okay, beliefs are thoughts that you've thought repetitively that you just accept as truth out in the world. They're a little bit stronger than the regular thought. Feelings, those gross things, are sensations in your body, physical sensations. And some people, especially a lot of women, are much more in touch with their body sensations and what's happening than others. How I got into this work was with weight loss because I was overweight and I was an emotional eater for a lot of my life. And every time there was a sensation in my general abdominal area, I was like, oh, cool, food. You can imagine, not all sensations are hunger. I've discovered anxiety there. I discovered worry. My stress kind of hangs out in my belly. So you can imagine every time I was anxious or worried or stressed, I felt a sensation in my belly and I said, oh, hunger. And that was kind of a miscommunication that I developed as a coping skill growing up. Learning to not judge yourself or criticize yourself as you're exploring this mind-body connection and getting in touch with what feelings are in your body. It takes a little bit of effort and work, and it also helps to detach it from judging yourself while you're doing it. Because if we're like, I know some of y'all, because I thought the same thing, are like, oh my God, I'm eating my feelings. Yes, we all do at one point or another, and that's okay. You're human. Again, congratulations, human brain, you're all here. I like that. We're all in this together. The other thing I want you to know is that your feelings, conscious and unconscious, are created by your thoughts. So think about it. If there are thoughts that you're not realizing are optional, that you've thought multiple times, and then they create a feeling in your body, can you see how that would create a cycle? In my patients, as a physician, I talk about the pain, stress, worry cycle because it creates a loop. And it's like a merry-go-round that's spinning really fast. It's really hard to get off when something's spinning fast because then you feel like you're going to fall over. Yeah, so we got to slow that down to create an exit strategy for balance. So feelings are physical sensations in your body. they will cycle and leave in about 90 seconds, unless we perpetuate them with what? Anyone guess? More thoughts, right? So stress cycles are perpetuated by the cyclic thoughts, okay? So our behaviors or our actions or our habits that we do or don't do, right? Because sometimes we don't do stuff. For me, when I'm stressed, I shut down. I just go, boop, little ball, like a hedgehog. Sonic the Hedgehog, is that like the little one on the first? I was trying to explain this to someone and I'm not good with video games. I could never get past like the second level of Mario. So I don't know why I try to use game analogies, but Sonic the Hedgehog is cute and he curled up. That's my stress response. Now that I'm aware of it, I can notice it and I can shift it. But our actions are the things we say or don't say, we do or don't do, kind of the risks we take, the new stuff we do, all of that. They create the results and the outcomes in our life, unintended or intended. So you can kind of see how this thought, feeling, action cycle is where our power is. And it starts back with our thoughts. So this is kind of an abbreviation for a thought model. Circumstances we're not really going to talk about today, but it's basically everything outside of you that you have no control over. Like all the other people in this room, me talking to you right now, that's all neutral. And then you have a thought about it, and it creates a feeling about it. And then you're either going to listen or not listen or be like, this is, if you want to leave, I won't take offense. I hope you don't, because I think we're going to have fun. But just know that me talking to you, the circumstance, you have a thought about it, it creates a feeling, hopefully inspiration, excitement. She's happy we're going to dance later. Here, tell me. And then you either take notes, you listen, or you don't listen. You tell your friends, you're like, you should have gone to this talk, you listen to it later. And that creates the result of you learning something today. Okay, does that make sense? So where we get it wrong is we think we have to change jobs or make our spouse change or make our kids do better so we can feel better down here. But literally our power is in our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions, and all of it comes from our conscious and unconscious thoughts. So your balance is created in your mind by first creating awareness around what you're thinking that's causing you to feel balanced or unbalanced. Because I like to say that balance can be a feeling. And I played around last night in preparation for this, in that we could put balance on every line of this thought model, and it kind of changes things a little bit, but I want to keep it simple for you today. If you're looking for a feeling that feels balanced in your body, I want you to kind of, if you feel comfortable, close your eyes or just stare straight at me or look at the pretty pink suit and the wings over here, and just think about think of a time when you felt kind of that peace, that groundedness, that balance in your life. And it may not be every aspect of your life. Maybe it was a relationship, you were just like, you could exhale and you could kind of relax and you felt safe. You felt confident and certain that right now everything was okay. To me, balance feels like that as you go from thing to thing, right? Excuse me, you create certainty, you create confidence, you create a sense of groundedness and safety for yourself. And if anyone is thinking like, man, I have a lot of work to do, I am very introverted by nature. It's a fluke that I'm up here because for some reason I like getting up in front of people and talking, but one-on-one used to be super awkward for me, out of my comfort zone. But I also was telling myself a story that it wasn't safe. So I had to create safety for myself to be able to look someone in the eye and talk to them and basically fake it until I made it. But I had to do that practice to create that safety. So if you're thinking, man, she's up there, she has it all together. You don't want to know what's going on in my brain most of the time. I would consider it a hot mess, but actually it's grown and progressed quite a bit from when I started this work. And I've been doing this for about 8 or 9 years now. So wherever you're starting, again, safety, it's okay. And you have to start where you are. We all want to be further than we are. We want to skip the uncomfortable part, right? That whole practice thing. You want to get better at talking to people, you actually have to go out and talk to people. I hate that. I did not want to talk to people. I was like, but they're scary and they're going to judge me. All the thoughts in my head that were trying to shut me down and protect me, right? So when you're thinking about this, you can usually think of at least one scenario. Maybe you were all alone under your covers, hanging out in bed saying, right now I feel good, but I gotta get up and face the world. Figure out what balance can feel like for you. Start where you are, start with your past experience. And then I want to invite you to think about what feeling that is in your body. For me, balance isn't a feeling by itself. It's kind of a state of being of who we are in the world, how we show up. We show up creating balance as we go. Like I said, it's kind of fluid, it can wax and wane. The juggle, right? This little balance thing here, it's a lie, cross it out, right? You don't have to have all your balls lined up and juggling and not dropping any balls. We're all gonna drop the ball at some point. We forget to pick our kid up at school. We eat that extra whole cake instead of one piece that we told ourselves we were gonna eat. We go back for thirds on donuts. I'm speaking about my personal experience. I'm telling you up here. So we're gonna lose that balance at some point, but part of creating that fluidity of balance is what is that feeling in your body, okay? For me, when I was going through this last night, when I feel balanced, I feel grounded, kind of centered in myself. I feel calm, I feel safe, I feel accomplished, right? I'm giving myself high fives in my head. I'm like, yeah, I can do this, right? I feel certain that no matter what comes at me, I can handle it. We're gonna talk a little bit, I think we're making great time. We're gonna talk a little bit about ways that you can create more balance and what thought feeling combination will give you that in your body and where you can start noticing it. And if right now your capacity to identify your feelings is happy, mad, sad, glad, that's cool, because that's where I started. I was like, I think I'm nervous right now, but I could be excited because they feel the same. And that was about it. I was really good at worrying. I'm like an expert level worrier. So y'all think you're anxious and worried. We can have a worry off, but you'll have to dance with me too. Because I like dancing, it's fun. All right, so we talk about awareness, right? We're starting where we are, realizing what's going on upstairs that's creating us to feel balanced or not. Then we're going to talk about creating that feeling of safety and grounding in our body, that sensation, and allowing it to be there and allowing other things to come up. And the more you can allow yourself to feel uncomfortable, uncertain, let yourself worry, and without judging yourself, without pushing it away, right? If you're uncomfortable with a sensation or an emotion, you want to push it away. You want to eat, you want to go, scroll on social media, you want to have a drink, you want to take some pills, whatever you're doing to shut that feeling down because it doesn't feel safe or comfortable. Just expand it a little bit. Let it be there for 30 seconds and then go do what you're going to do. That practice of allowing yourself to just feel the emotion, identify it, like where does it feel in my body, right? That's a practice. It's an action you take so you can create more balance. And then taking aligned action that's in integrity with what you want to do. And this is how we create self-trust. I told myself I was going to volunteer to give a talk today. And look, here I am. I'm calling this aligned action. I'm scared as heck before I give talks. Some of y'all saw me talking earlier. I was talking a little fast. I get a little jittery. I've had lots of coffee. Okay, yesterday morning, not this morning, thankfully. Yesterday morning at 4 a.m. I awoke. I was probably having a dream, but I had the total adrenaline burst probably from giving this talk today. But I've also learned how to say, yep, there's my adrenaline kicking in, knowing it's giving a talk in 18 hours that I haven't finished writing it. And I want it to be amazing. And I want you to know that you can all do this and feel better right away by doing it. And I just let myself have that moment, feel that sensation, and then I went back to sleep. Especially a lot of my patients have pain or they have insomnia because they have a lot of anxiety, like your brain clicks on when you try to lay down to go to sleep. It's because you're not giving those thoughts or that emotion, that worry, any airtime. And you don't have to, there are other ways to process through it, but you also can just take 30 minutes and schedule your worry time for the day. And I guarantee you when you get there, your brain's gonna be like, we got nothing to worry about, we're fine. But just knowing over the course of the day that you have 30 minutes to worry, that can help you retain your energy, your focus, and your thoughts on what you're doing, which will help you create more balance and become more efficient. Because when we're trying to multitask, we're trying to do something at work, but we're thinking about our kids, or we're with our kids, but we're not really with our kids. You guys know what I'm talking about? And like an hour's gone by and you're like, I was thinking about this over here next week or last week, or judging yourself or replaying a conversation in your head, you're losing your focus, your energy, and your time. And that is where you lose your balance. Y'all with me? You get it? We need another dance break? You doing okay? All right. You guys are rock stars. I love it. So, accepting ourselves, right? Putting ourselves on our own list, and we're going to talk about lists and priorities in just a minute, is important and it is necessary. Why do they tell us on the plane that we have to put our own oxygen mask on first? Anyone know? You're with your small child, they tell you put your own oxygen mask on first. They've drilled it into our heads.
Yeah, so that you don't pass out before you get one.
Exactly. You can't help anyone else and you're no good to anyone else if you're passed out on the floor, right? But so many times we drain our own cup and then we're still trying to pour water out for other people. And then we wonder why we don't feel balanced, we're stressed, we've got neck and back pain and headaches and we're going to the doctor. And then you come into my office and I'm like, what's going on? We talk about your stress. Even just talking about it, letting it out, helps you kind of regain that homeostasis, that balance, internally and externally. So learning to meet yourself where you are will help you create balance. And if that doesn't make sense, let me know. We can talk about it more. Y'all kind of get that? Y'all are smart. You're here, you're smart. All right, so who we are being, how we're thinking, feeling, and behaving is how we create balance. Okay, so we're going to talk about awareness and time management. Wah, wah, wah. Because I don't know, it sounded boring to me when I wrote it down. But actually, I do this exercise a lot with people, and it's really helpful. So if you have a pen and paper, I want to invite you to make a list. Take a normal day in your life, obviously not like get up, go to the women's conference, hang out all day, make new friends, right? This is a little bit atypical of a day, but like a normal work day for you, a normal busy day. I want you to make a list of everything that you do from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep. Oh, we need a couple minutes here, that's what I'm hearing. Okay, good, we're gonna make some good progress today. And as you're writing, just notice if you're judging yourself. And I've done this before. I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Okay, just write it down and just practice being where you are. You're here because you want to learn more about balance. This is how we do it. This is how we roll. And you can combine, if your days kind of fluctuate, you can combine like everything into one day. Make it like the super day. Like say you were like superwoman, you could get your to-do list all done, right? Right? You're like, check, 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 and I'm gonna go have a glass of wine and chill. Right, we know that's fantasy most of the time. All right, I'm gonna give you guys another like 30 seconds to a minute. I see some smiles. I see some other looks that I'm not quite sure how to interpret, but I totally get it. Safe space here. A lot of us don't realize how much we're doing. That's why this exercise helps you increase your awareness of how much you're actually cramming in or trying to cram in over the course of the day, and how much credit you're not giving yourself for being an awesome human. Okay, does anyone need more time? We're pretty much wrapped up. Okay. Now I want you, who has more than 10 things on their list? Look around, most of us. Yeah. We're women, we're awesome, and we're over scheduling. Yeah, thank you. So I want you to rate every activity on a scale of 0 to 10 by how much joy it brings you. 0 is heck no, I would never do this if I didn't have to. 10 is heck yes, I love doing this every day. Yeah, and everywhere in between. Don't think about it, just whatever number comes up. If you're like, I don't want to pick up the kids, 0. No judgment here, this is just for you. We're not going to share, we're not grading this. Doesn't have to be perfect. Be honest with yourself. This is where we create the change, by being honest and starting where we are. Okay. If you're still working, it's okay. You can keep working. Now I just want you to look at that list, and if you partially did it, you can always do the rest later. Look at anything that's less than a 7. Can you eliminate that or delegate it? Have someone help you out with it. Assign it to someone, hire it out. Husbands count. I want to offer that we're awesome and we're human and we get to create our schedules no matter how much we think it's out of our control. No is a complete sentence and a very powerful one. Upholding the no is the difficult part. Saying no, I can't do that. And I'm willing to consider doing it next week, 3 weeks from now, right? Just create that wiggle room, because a lot of us have things on our list that we either don't absolutely have to do, or we've never considered that maybe someone else could help. And part of that is we're telling ourselves, if we don't do it, someone's gonna judge us. Mother-in-law, spouse, boss, ourselves, right? Whatever we're thinking that someone else is gonna think, we're actually thinking it about ourselves. And you can set yourself free from that at any time, and it will create more time, more energy, and more freedom in your life. So I just want to offer that if you're thinking so-and-so is going to think that if I don't do this, and I'm not advocating that you leave your kids at school and make them walk home and they're going to suffer injustice. Okay, we're not talking about that. We want to be realistic, but we also want to introduce the possibility that maybe you don't have to do everything you think you do. And this will help you stop overscheduling, making a to-do list that never ends. Trust me, my husband makes fun of my Post-it notes. I used to have Post-it notes with like 8 to 10 things on them. He's like, you're never gonna get through that. I'm like, you shut your mouth. I don't care if you're always right. I gotta keep him in line, y'all. His head gets real big. So if we can prioritize and bring more joy into our lives, the things we actually enjoy doing, or at least put those first, bump them up on the list or create more of them, then we automatically create more balance. We create more time. We create more mental space to just stare off out the window for 5 minutes. And that helps you create balance in your life. I want you to make a separate list. 3 things you want more of in your life. That could be physical things or emotional things, money, time alone on an island with a margarita. Trust me, that's on my list. Okay, 3 things you want more of. They may be on your list already. You just want more of them. You want a better relationship, you want a less stressful job, whatever. It's your time, your imagination, you get to pick. And think about where you can do one thing for 5 minutes every day. Now that we've taken some things off your list, hopefully, or created more opportunity to take things off your list. 5 minutes, you can work on creating more of one of those things. If it sounds impossible, I want you to come talk to me after, or we can schedule a time to talk on the phone or Zoom to create that for you. Because something that is important in creating new habits, new behaviors, right here in our action line, it's a change. It's gonna feel uncomfortable, but we wanna create an intentional thought and an intentional feeling that doesn't have to feel great. Determined doesn't always feel great. Courage feels terrible most of the time because you're pushing through the fear that's there to take action on something you want to create a result. Minimum baseline is something I talk about with a lot of my clients, especially when we're changing like an exercise habit, a nutrition habit, a work efficiency habit. What can you guarantee that you can do every day to move you in that direction? One small step. How do we climb a mountain? One step at a time. But our brains go all or nothing on us. They're like, no, we got to do it now. 5 minutes ago, it's on my list. Brings me joy. Right? Your brain's already trying to figure out how to keep everything on the list and add more, trust me. My brain does the same thing. So when you create a minimum baseline for anything you want more of in your life, you're basically just trusting yourself to show up, to make that small change, and your brain is gonna offer you that it's not enough, there's no possible way this will make a difference, why are we bothering, right? Very common thoughts. But as we take action from the idea that, yes, I can make this change, I can show up for myself, we're building our self-trust to create that aligned action and act in integrity towards what we want more of in our lives. Y'all thought you were going to talk about balance, we're talking about everything today, right? We want more joy, we want more relaxation, we want more downtime, okay? But it has to start somewhere. I started meditating about 5 or 6 years ago. I don't always do it, maybe once a week now, but I wanted to learn how to meditate because my brain was constantly spinning. And when I started with 1 minute and I sucked. Like literally the minute would be up and my brain would be like, we just thought about all these things, right? But it's the practice. You're gonna show up for it every day. So I just want you to think about where you can create something like that for a minute, for 5 minutes. You know, you want to write a book, you write down 5 sentences every day. You start somewhere, you start taking action, even though it feels uncomfortable, because you're building a habit, a new habit of showing up for yourself in the way you want to create more joy and balance in your life. And by that, you build trust with yourself. Because most of the time as women as well, we show up for everyone else. We'll never break a promise to someone else, we show up for them. But when we schedule something for ourselves, what comes off the calendar first? Our time. So I also want to invite you to figure out where you can put your time, your downtime, your relaxation, your fun time, your workout time, your meal prep time, your eating out with your girlfriend's time on your calendar first before you schedule everything else. That also will help you create more balance. Okay, so we just opened the time travel portal. We're giving you more time back. Is that helpful?
Absolutely.
Yeah? Creating awareness is always the first step and always starting where we're at. Because if we don't know where we're starting, we can't go anywhere, right? And sometimes we think we're over here, but we're actually over here. We may be closer than we think. Okay. So now we're going to talk about unconscious and conscious thought feeling patterns so that you can create more balance. So we talked about earlier, there's so much to do, right? I have so much to do. My to-do list is never ending. Give me some thoughts that you noticed when you were making your list. Shout them out. Anyone? Anyone want to volunteer? Yes.
So my first one is to get out of bed and get ready for work. And I marked it as a 2. So if anybody knows how to delegate that.
You don't have joy getting out of bed?
I know, I'm really one.
Okay. So basically you're thinking, I don't want to get out of bed.
Right.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. How do you feel about that? How do you feel when you're thinking, I don't want to get out of bed?
You know, I have found a balance in it because I have taken charge of my schedule and have allowed myself to start my day later. And so if I can get up at 8, I know as I run 8 o'clock, then I feel better about my day. And I'm more balanced and I'm able to have a better attitude towards it. And at 7 o'clock, and I'm all Eric. I'm not as balanced. I'm more anxious about it.
Okay, so when you have a 7 a.m. meeting, your thought is, I don't want to get out of bed, and then you feel anxious. Okay, so what do you do when you're feeling anxious and you don't want to get out of bed for your 7 a.m. meeting?
I make myself get up.
Do you know, or do you lay there for a minute and debate, do I have to go to this meeting?
Yes.
Okay,
I absolutely, and sometimes I'm
you procrastinate, right? Okay. So, thank you, no, I appreciate that. So you stay in bed, you cancel your meeting.
Yeah, you know, do that like this Tuesday.
Okay. Anything else that you do or don't do if you're having that thought about the 7 a.m. meeting?
I think how important it is for me. And why is it important to me specifically?
So what about the day that you don't go to the meeting? Do you beat yourself up for it, or?
I used to.
Okay.
I definitely did. But then I learned that I can read the notes and I can catch up. Yeah. And I
Do you justify it?
Yeah.
That it's okay. Okay.
Yep, I just.
Justify staying in bed. Okay.
That's
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I hear that. All right. Except when my brain wakes me up at 4 a.m. to try to jump up and put out the fire that's not there. 4, right? Isn't it weird when we wake up in the middle of the night and you're like awake instantly, you're ready to go, and then when you're supposed to wake up, you're like, why? Okay, so neutral circumstances, 7 a.m. meeting, her thought, automatic default thought, I don't want to get out of bed. I've had that thought. She feels anxious, so when she feels anxious, she stays in bed, she cancels her meeting, she justifies staying in bed. What results does that create for you?
I misinformation.
Okay.
There's the job that I have, it's important that I understand the laws and what's coming up so that I can support my client.
Okay.
So I miss out on how to serve.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't show up. I miss out, right? Okay. When we're in our thought model and we're thinking about how we're thinking and feeling and acting, right? Because this is our, I need time to go. This is where our power lives, right? Is in this combination right here. This thought, feeling, and action combination. We create our own results. We sometimes affect results for other people, right? You don't get your kid up for school, they don't go to school, right? But our result is ours. Y'all see how when she's thinking, I don't want to get out of bed, she doesn't get out of bed, she doesn't show up, she misses out. And that creates a ripple effect, which creates more time and effort and energy on the back end. So then you're not showing up for yourself to get what you want, which is balance. Instead, you have to spend time later looking at the meeting notes, talking to people, catching up, right? Okay. You guys see how that doesn't create balance? We think in our brains like, just stay in bed 5 more minutes, hit the snooze button, it's cool, right? And there's no judgment there, but think how many times we're unconsciously thinking something and creating a result we don't want, that then creates more time drain, more energy drain, more imbalance. Yeah, does that make sense? All right, someone else want to give me one? Anybody?
I was great.
Oh, there's heart notes down here, y'all. Y'all, this board's gonna go back over there. We got cool hearts and stars. I was just looking for the eraser. Okay, so I have another one. If no one else wants to volunteer, no?
I've got one.
Okay.
So I struggle leaving work on time.
Okay.
And then I get really mad because it's my own fault that I've left work on time. 'Cause I make that choice by doing that one last thing or making that one last call or whatever. So then I beat myself up all the way home because I just stayed an extra half hour and I didn't feel I could have done it the next day.
Okay, so what time do you want to leave work? 5 o'clock. What time do you leave work when you stay late?
5:36.
Okay. We'll say leave work at 7.
You know,
You
The
love your
boss
job.
is a slave driver.
I'm gonna guess you're the boss.
yeah.
She's like, I'm gonna give an example that makes me look really good.
No, and she knows, I do that one last, I can make one more call. And then that one last call ends up being like 45 minutes, and I'm like, why did I call this one last person? I could have let two minutes before time.
Yeah. So answer that question. So you don't ever want a question in your thought when you're doing this, okay? So you leave work at 7. What's the thought you have about it? Why did I do this? So I did this because
I just wanted to take care of one more person.
I just wanted to take care of one more thing, right? Anyone else ever have that thought? Yeah.
I picked one on my list, and that one is my biggest.
Yeah. One more thing. Okay, my handwriting's degenerating. Okay, so her circumstances neutral, she leaves work at 7. Some people may be like, sweet, I get to leave at 7?
Well, and 7
Right.
it's usually 5:36.
Yeah. So basically late, but it's different for everyone. So we only want to put neutral facts here, okay? I just wanted to take care of one more thing. But how do you feel? Mad? Okay. Mad. Good frowny face. What do you do when you're mad? You think you beat yourself up?
The whole drive home.
Oh,
What
gosh.
was I thinking?
You drive home angry?
Yes.
What road do you take? Okay.
But my angry is a different kind of angry. You know, the right music will be on to get me home.
Okay, so beat yourself up all the way home. Okay. Do you feel guilty or
Yes.
upset? So you're mad, you feel
I
guilty?
do feel guilty because I don't have a lot of time with my son and my husband in the day.
Okay. So then you spend less time with your husband and your kid, right? With family. What else? What are you doing or not doing when you're mad and guilty and you stay a little bit later at work? You beat yourself up. Are you speeding?
No.
Okay.
We're
all safe on Patterson around the
I'm not a speed driver. I could never do NASCAR.
Okay. So what result does that create for you if you just want to take care of one more thing?
Less time with the people that I love. Not that I don't love my boss, but less time with the people that I
I
love.
spend less time with family, yeah, and yourself,
Yes.
right? Because you're spending the mental time beating yourself up, being mad at yourself, feeling guilty, all of these things. So guilt is a big emotion that drains our energy, causes us to feel overwhelmed because we can't focus when we're feeling guilty because we gotta have the guilt. If we don't feel the guilt, then clearly there's something wrong with us. We're a sociopath. Guilt is created by the thought, right? So you can shift these feelings. You don't ever have to. I want to say that you can always create that capacity to feel all your feelings. I wasn't there when I started doing this. I was like, no, I got to change all the thoughts because I got to have all the happy feelings. It's not about being happy all the time. It's about being able to be with yourself and trust yourself to handle whatever comes up. Does that make sense? So she can choose, I like your language. She's owning it. She's like, I'm choosing to stay late and take care of one more thing. But then the result is I spend less time with my family and myself because the time she is spending with herself, she's beating herself up, she's feeling guilty. She's being upset. She's thinking, why did I do that? Right?
But I didn't have to.
And that's the stuff that comes back to haunt us at night. A lot of times when we're going to bed and we're like, well, I should have done this. I should have done this. I shouldn't have done that. You know, why didn't I do that differently? I knew better, right? That also creates imbalance because it drains our time, drains our energy, keeps us from sleeping. Trust me, sleep is a big thing, y'all.
It's a number 10 on my list.
Yes, it is your time to rest and recover. If you don't have sleep on your list and it's not a high priority, come talk to me. Let's figure this out. Okay. So you guys can kind of see from these examples, unintentionally, we're creating thoughts that are creating results we don't necessarily want, which creates less joy in our lives, less balance, less relaxation, right? More overwhelm, more anger, more doubt, more fear, more struggle, more hustle, right? Hustle is not necessarily a bad thing, but when you're coming from a place of your resources not being enough, not enough time, not enough energy, I have to take out of this bucket to put in this bucket. That's a perfect example. Thank you guys for sharing and being willing to share, because it is vulnerable to share these kinds of things. Okay. When we're struggling with the emotion or pushing away the emotion when we have it, that creates more overwhelm, more stress. Stress is basically comes from a resistance, and it drains our balance, because when we're resisting something, we're not dealing with the root cause. We're basically trying to slap a Band-Aid on a gushing wound and being like, why are you bleeding to death, right? It's not working. We want to interrupt that whole cycle and then take our power back. And that's why I think this is so important, that women know we get to create our lives from here first and here. And I truly believe that we all have our own inner wisdom, but none of us can slow down long enough to tap into it, because our brain is constantly going based on how we grew up, how society perpetuates this work hard, we have to earn our worth, our productivity, that kind of thing. This is where awareness comes in, to start where you are and realize like, oh, I'm unintentionally thinking I have to get this done, I have to do more, I can't delegate this, I have to get all this done or else someone's gonna think that, right? That judgment, that self-judgment that comes in. That's where we drain our energy and lose our balance. Is this making sense? Okay, so now we're gonna spend the last couple minutes talking about how to create more balance. Does anyone have a thought that they've come up with that makes them feel more balanced, or feel an emotion that feels like, oh yeah, I could hang out here for a while? Anyone? Others? Yeah?
So, sorry, I had a huge start.
No worries. Safe space. We're all good here.
My time usually is in the yard at night with my dog. When I get off work, I go home, and I've been able to transform my yard to my space, and being able to sit in my lawn chair and watch the traffic go by, or in the yard, watch the stars, moon, whatever, and I'm able to take some time for me, which I don't hardly ever. So for me, that's my ability. I've been able to change that.
That's amazing. Yeah. And when you think back to when you started doing that, how did you create that? Do you think about how you were feeling, like what you wanted more of, or what kind of thoughts were going through your head? Like, I can make this happen. I can create this space.
I wanted more time to just be able to be me, to just sit down with my thoughts, clear my thoughts, try to organize my thoughts, for lack of a better, and then just take a big deep breath and just let it all go. It's taken me 53 years to figure that out.
Well, congratulations. Can we all give her a hand? I'll bring our chairs.
I built a fire pit for my dad. I have my only toddler I live with. If you want a fire pit in there, so I built one. We haven't had a fire yet, but I bought 2 solar fire lights to put in it, so.
Amazing. Great. Make sure it's not on Google Maps or we're gonna find it. All right. So, the situation is time, right? And space. And you said, I wanted to do this for myself. How do you feel when you're there?
Peaceful,
Yeah.
at ease,
That feels like balance for you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have all the stress, the emotions, everything else. I take care of my husband, my ugly parents, and my dog, and work full time and go to school.
Yeah. So are you thinking about those things when you're there?
No, I've limited myself to where I don't think about those. That is my space, my time. And it's a very hard thing for me. I'm all about it.
And you've created that balance because you know you have that time. That's what, exactly. And that's why I kind of joking about the 30 minutes to worry every day, but if you're super anxious, you're super worried, and you carve out similarly that time and space, you can just tell your brain 900 times a day or however many times like the anxiety or the worry or the whatever comes up, we're going to do it at 3 p.m. today, right? Or do it once a week or however many times you need to do it. You need a morning and an afternoon time, again, no judgment here. Do you want to create that space to allow your brain to just dump and to process and to just be with yourself, right? So she said, I want to do this for myself. And you did this for yourself, right? And that's a great empowering thought, an intentional thought. I love that. A couple I wrote down too is I've got this. One of my clients gave me that one and it was such a gift. Her motivating, determined, committed thought was I've got this. And I want to invite you that you can use that with literally everything. It's amazing. Another one I like is I know how to show up for myself. But I want you, if it doesn't feel true, you're like, yeah, and I'm not about like just saying a mantra until you believe it. You want to find a statement that feels true in your body. And if you have to add, I'm working on believing that I've got this. It's possible that I can show up for myself. Start where you are and start creating just a tiny bit of space. Or when you have a thought, you can kind of shift it and be like, oh, that's my old thought of like, I can't do this. I don't have any time. I'm so busy. And just open up a little bit of space for it's possible that I could say no and just walk away, right? I can leave at 5. I can practice the habit of building up that time and space for myself to create whatever feeling feels like balance for you. And for some people, they think, yeah, how I feel balanced is I feel kind of relaxed in my body, my muscles are loose, I feel warm in my chest. It's different for everybody. That's where practicing this helps you really get in touch with. For me, like I was like, oh, that's anxiety, that's not hunger. And that helped me stop overeating. And now I actually pause and I'm like, am I really hungry or am I just smelling good food? Am I really hungry or am I worried? Am I really hungry? Did that person just scare the crap out of me when they came around the corner and I felt that? Because truly, when I was younger, every time I had a sensation in my belly, I thought it was hunger. What did I know? I was just a dumb kid, you know? So that awareness, growing that awareness, being willing to show up for yourself and just be open, explore, make it fun. If you make it a game, your brain will be like, heck yeah, let's do this, right? That's why I inject some humor too, because it keeps your brain engaged. Like we're having fun, we're learning stuff, and it's fun for us. Right? So make it fun for yourself. It doesn't have to feel heavy or hard because then you don't want to show up for it. It's just another thing you have to check off your list every day. So think about where you can create intentional thoughts to create that feeling of balance as you go through your day. And not everything has to feel balanced. You know, if you don't like picking up your kids at school, you just chalk it up to like, I'm going to practice patience right now. And I'm not going to flick off all those other people that cut me off today, right? So so we talked a lot about self-talk, and I'm going to wrap up because we're almost out of time. So I want to thank everyone for participating. Your self-talk is important. We've kind of weaved that through our talk today. It determines your self-concept. And if you want to have more balance, you want to feel more empowered in your life, this is the way to do it. It's a way, it's not the only way. There are other ways that may speak better to you. Find them, learn them, use them. I like to feel confident. I like to feel grounded. I've learned to let myself be anxious and worried and freaky and awkward. I'm awkward most of the time, but I've learned to start letting myself be that way without judging it. Letting go of the internal criticism and self-judgment is one of the most loving things you could ever do for yourself. and it will change your life on its own if you make no other changes in your life. Creating intentional thoughts and how you're talking to yourself throughout the day will transform your entire life and give you more balance. It'll decrease your stress. It'll increase the ease of which you move through life. It'll help you get up out of bed at 7 a.m. for a meeting and be like, heck yeah, we're gonna do this. Not that you have to. Eventually, practice. It's a process. But the less you beat yourself up along the way, the faster you'll get there. And the less you stop wishing you were already there, you can create the feeling that you think you're gonna have when you're there, that confidence, that balance, that calm, that grounded. You can create that right now, and that will walk you there faster. Okay, so we kind of talked about how to do this today. So to summarize, balance in general, perfectionistic fantasy. But now you know where to find it in yourself and how to create it for yourself. You get to prioritize your time by choosing what you want to focus on intentionally. And I encourage you to kind of go back through your list, go back through your joy scale, go back through what you want more of, and just come up with a simple plan for yourself. If you want help with that, again, I can help you with that. You get to take back your power by intentionally noticing and then maybe changing. You don't have to change anything. Just start by noticing. Practice noticing your thoughts and your feelings and your actions as you go through your day. And then once you've been watching it for a little while, you can start shifting, right? And no, it's not woo-woo. This is logical neuroscience. Neuroplasticity, our brains change, okay? And you can choose loving and empowering self-talk to create the life that you want with balance and with ease. All right, I'm gonna cue my DJ because we got a good song, but we don't have a speaker. Oh, is it locked? Dramatic exit not happening. But I'm willing to fail in front of y'all, so thank you for the space. So everybody can stand up. This is Freedom by George Michael. I think most of y'all know. No, you're too young, get out of my room.